What's up, everybody? It's Conger Live. We're back again with another TMNT Mutant Madness video, and in today's video we're looking at the upcoming power mutation heroes that should have 100% power boost in Dimension Clash next week. If you're new to the channel, ninja kick that subscribe button for more TMNT Mutant Madness content, and let's get into it. Alright, so we're going to reveal these three heroes, and we're going to go into the game and look at their kits. Let me know in the comments down below which of these heroes you might be using next week for Dimension Clash. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? I want to hear about it in the comments. Okay, the first hero that is on power boost mutation is Ace Duck. Ace Duck has always seemed to perform fairly well during mutation weeks, so I'm pretty excited about that. The second one is Granitor. Now, Granitor is sometimes underrated, but overall not the most impressive tank. We'll look at his kit to kind of get some more insight into that. But he might do decent during power mutation. And finally, Traag. Now, Traag is an excellent support tank. I think that he will definitely be someone worth using during mutation this week. We'll go, once again, look at their kits so that we can talk about what are their merits and maybe what are their shortcomings. Okay, we're in my box, and the first hero we gotta find is Ace Duck. Now, I went pretty hard on Ace Duck in Season 2. That was the first season pass I bought. That's when I started making content, and I didn't have a lot of characters, so he was one of my first 4 stars. I made use of him as much as possible, even though he wasn't as impressive as we hoped. But he's definitely done some great things on mutation in the past. Let's take a look. His bombing run, he gains defense. He gains extra defense if there are no enemies at range 1. So he starts in the back, stays away from enemies, gets a nice amount of defense there. Moves to a tile, targeting all enemies within range 1 of any enemy in between. So this is where sometimes there was bugs with this bombing run, and I think even to this day, depending on the situation, there might be a way where he's not able to hit anybody with his bombing run, but most of the time it works now. But there was mad bugs with this when he was brand new, where he wasn't hitting anybody. So he targets all enemies within range 1 of any enemy in between that line, and then he deals a bunch of energy damage and extra damage per alertness. Of course, when they nerfed alertness, he felt less impressive, but with the power mutation, he does pretty good damage, lots of big damage there. His hard-boiled blitz, first auto skill, target up to 2 random enemies at range 3, deal a bunch of energy damage over 2 hits. Target a tile at range 3 and all enemies within range 1 of it, and deal half that energy damage. Inflict negative 40 alertness for 3 seconds. Now, this negative 40 alertness infliction is really, really nice. It's going to be counteracting the enemy Ace Duck, so maybe some way of getting some will so you can get yours off first might be very helpful, because as you may or may not know, alertness affects how much defense you gain. And the one thing I'm not quite sure on, does it also affect defense stripping, like when you lose defense? And I would imagine it does, but is it affected by the character being targeted, or is it the character who's inflicting the negative defense? Is it their alertness that matters? So if a dev heard that question, let me know in the answer down below. I will make at a point to ask that over in Discord. The bird's eye shot when attacking inflict negative defense, so that alertness thing I'm wondering about, important here. On basic attacks, he's stripping defense, and it looks like a decent amount. Deal some extra damage if there are no enemies at range 1, so if you can keep him away from the crowd, then he's going to do extra damage, give himself extra defense. So really, really nice kit mechanics here. After attacking, gains 3 alertness for 10 seconds, and if there are no enemies at range 1, gain 15 extra alertness for 2 seconds if he's under 0 alertness. So once again, if he doesn't have any enemies at range 1, and if he's under 0 alertness, he's going to boost that alertness for a couple seconds. But the 10-second stacking 3 alertness, and if his haste is fast enough, you can get 30, 40 alertness out of this skill alone here. His second passive, Mallard Maverick, he gains 30 haste and 15 will while not stunned, which is excellent. Basic attacks from haste will help you charge your special meter. will, of course, will help you use all your skills quicker. If you're not stunned, rooted, or slowed, gain 30% resistance to stun and 60% resistance to disarm while defense is above 0. Now this resistance to disarm is pretty sweet because disarm, I feel, is a somewhat underrated skill, but if the enemy can't basic attack, they can't charge their ultimate gauge as quickly because they're not getting that gain from those basic attacks. And at the start of combat, he starts with some defense, so a little bit extra survivability, not bad. And then his Wing Squall, he gains a bunch of defense, targets the tile at range 2 and all enemies within range 1 of it, and inflicts a bunch negative defense and negative 120 haste and slow for 2 seconds. So once again, stripping that defense, which is nice, and then slowing down their attack speed and their movement speed for a couple seconds. Now if you get him up to 250, he inflicts extra defense and inflict extra haste and slow for 2 extra seconds to enemies under 30 alertness. So he does strip the alertness with the previous skill, the Hard-Boiled Blitz. So if they have that negative alertness, he's going to do that extra defense stripping and longer duration for the haste and slow reduction. Aviator Jacket. Gains 45 armor and barrier while defense is above 0. At the start of combat, gains 45 focus for 8 seconds. So this 45 focus gives him extra damage output for the first 8 seconds. And as long as he has defense, he's going to be more survivable. I like this for Ace Duck. It fits his kit. So that's Ace Duck. Overall, pretty good character. Look right in the middle of the road. But during mutation, definitely someone to look at using. The second one was Granitor. Now my Granitor is only 3-star at level 1, so I won't be using him because where I'm at in my shield rating, 3 stars just don't cut it. But if you have him at 4-star, he may be worth using. Let's take a look. Rocket Launcher, select a tile at range 2 plus and target all enemies within range 1 of it. Now this is interesting because if he has enemies just at range 1 of him, I don't know if he can trigger this, somewhat like Splinter, if he's the last one, can't target himself because he has to select a tile. Okay, so he can still use it at a tile behind the enemy, but he can't target himself, or I mean the tiles around him. But it will, because the splash, the range 1, will still do damage. Okay. And he deals some energy damage. Nice. Inflicts negative defense when you level it up, and then also stun for half a second to targets under 15 alertness if not disarmed. So this half a second stun isn't much. It's really, really short. This is kind of sad. It's only half a second. I'd love to see like a whole second or even a second and a half or 2 seconds if they ever want to tweak or buff Granitor, because there is already also the condition of under 15 alertness. Now if you're using him with Ace Duck, he's going to be able to strip that alertness, and if there's other heroes that you're going to use that can take alertness away, that would also help make sure that you get to trigger this. His Crater Maker, he targets all enemies within range 1, deals some physical damage, inflicts negative 30 strength for 3 seconds, inflicts negative 0.3 extra strength per armor. So he is that tank blaster, so he's going to be able to do both blaster and physical damage. It looks like we got physical damage from this skill to anyone around him, also reducing the amount of damage he's going to take, and doing extra and reducing more of that strength the more armor he has. So you definitely want to give him some armor to help reduce that. But protection against physical damage so far, not against blaster damage, which we're going to see, Ace Duck's blaster, Granitor's primarily blaster. So once again, not excited about his kit so far. Gain 40 armor, gain plus 0.25 strength per armor. So he does some extra damage per armor. It's similar to what Krang does, but I don't think it's as good. Loyalty to Krang, he gives 30 armor and barrier to other allies at or above 20 will if not stunned or rooted. So this is really cool. It basically works well with Ace's kit. Of course, got to be above 20 will, but he gives 30 armor and barrier. I wish it'd say to all allies or to allies. So it include himself, but it says other allies. So he doesn't get this bonus, which is kind of sad. Unlocks at 225 as he gives the 30% resistance to stun to other allies at or above 20 will. After being knocked out, he gives a bunch of defense to all allies at or above 20 will. So all this conditional of above 20 will, they had nerfed will a while back, and so I don't know if before the will nerf if this number was bigger, but harder to hit in general, which is why Granitor is just meh. And then his stone stance, he gains 100 armor and receives negative 50 haste for 6 seconds. He gains 50% resistance to stun, disarm, silence, and for 6 seconds. So once again, more just not impressive skills. Why does he have to give himself negative 50 haste to get 100 armor? There's kits that exist now where they get 100 armor with no detriment. Granitor is just underwhelming all around. Definitely won't be using him. His rocket launcher, he gains 45 focus, and after using the skill, gains 60 armor for 4 seconds. So this really fits his kit. It doesn't make him amazing. There's still things wrong with his kit in general, but giving him a flat bonus for damage output and then gaining armor after using the skill for 4 seconds. If you're getting skills off fast enough, he's always going to have 60, if not 120, or even, you know, a lot more armor if you can like chain those skills. That can really stack, and that can really help him put some damage out. If you want to use him, you get him at 4 stars, and you think it'd be fun to use him, go for it. Not recommending it. But his counterpart Traag is an excellent support tank. His boulder formation is special. Target a tile and target all allies within range 1 of it. Give defense 50 armor for 2 seconds. Give extra defense to allies within range 1 of another ally. Give 25 armor for 6 seconds to targets under 0 armor, and do the same for barrier. So he gives armor, 25 armor, 25 barrier if they're under 0. So if they've had a negative effect, they're going to get that boost, which is nice. And then similar to like Leo's strike together, if they're standing next to an ally, they get more defense, which is decent. It's not amazing. This defense number isn't huge. I'm sure if I were to put equipment on them, which I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to go back and look at all their equipment skills because I forgot to put equipment on them so we can see that. But we will do that when we're done with Traag here. Fire support, target up to 3 enemies at range 3, deal energy damage over 3 hits, inflict disarm for 1 second to each target hit, target all allies at range 2, and give them defense. This is nice. It's a combo skill where you deal damage, you inflict disarm, and give defense to your allies. That's pretty cool. Chain of Command gives 25 alertness to all allies within range 2, if not stunned or silenced. After being knocked out, give a bunch of defense and 25 alertness and will for 10 seconds to the closest ally at range 2. So Chain of Command, this is really, really cool. The one thing that is difficult about this, the knocked out part, if he's the last one on the board, this doesn't trigger, right? But the fact that he's giving 25 alertness to allies within range 2, Ace Duck is really going to like that because he does more damage with more alertness, which is maybe why they put Ace Duck with Traag and Granitor, because Traag and Granitor, it makes sense why they're together. Why wouldn't Krang be the third one, or someone else from Dimension X? I'm not sure. So his Rocky skin, he gains 40 armor, and at 225 after being attacked, he gains 1 armor and barrier for 20 seconds. So 225 makes him very much more survivable because every attack that he gets hit, he gets that extra armor and barrier. So it stacks, but 1 is not enough. It's not going to mitigate all the damage of being attacked, but it will kind of slow things down. And then the Coordinate Advance, target the closest other ally, give 40 focus and 20 strength for 6 seconds. Target all other allies, give 20 focus and 10 strength for 6 seconds. So notice how he gives more focus and strength. So you want blasters on his team because they're going to get a better bonus out of this Coordinate Advance. And if you take him all the way up to 250, target the closest other ally, give 40% resistance to stun and disarm for 6 seconds. Target all other allies, give 20% resistance to stun and disarm for 20 seconds. So 40% resistance to stun is decent. I'd like to see this up to like 50 or higher would feel a little bit nicer. But the fact that he gives it to everybody is pretty cool. But it's a huge invest for 250 for Traag. I don't know if he's good enough to take to 250 unless you already have him there from when we were speculating that he was amazing. And with Trags, at the start of combat, give defense and plus 30 armor for 6 seconds to all allies. That's right. So with this is a pretty cool skill, but it's not the most amazing in my opinion. It's just a little bit of defense. It's not a lot. And you need to have him in the middle position so that everybody can benefit from this. Otherwise, he's only going to be able to target 3 people if you put him on one of the corners, because he is going to get it himself, because it says all allies, it includes himself. But you need to put him in the middle if you use him so that this triggers to everybody. There's a little caveat there. Okay, that's all we got for today's video. Thank you guys for sticking with me and checking out these heroes. Like I said, leave a comment down below which of these three you're going to use, why you think they're great, why you think they're not. And the whole point here is we just want to game smarter. So thanks for watching. Ninja, kick that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.